Hi, this is Margaret Ajibolo, the STEM Positive Disruptor, and this platform has been set up to educate, raise awareness, change people's perception, and demystify what STEM is. And that's also to bring people into our domain, the public into our domain, because sometimes people have a preconceived idea of what STEM is, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We also want to show the diverse roles and the role models within our industry as well. And I have a special guest today, Chloe Sells,
Yes.
and I'm just excited because she's a welder. She calls herself the welder. So I'm kind of really excited about how she's gonna tell us more about what she's done and her journey. And one of the things that I do like about it is what she said, I am meant to be here. So that statement is powerful, it's direct, and it's so true for us as our in our STEM world. We need to know that we are meant to be in this environment. That's why we do what we do. So without further ado, welcome again, Chloe. Please, tell us more about yourself.
Hi, so I'm Chloe. I'm also known as Chloe the Welder on social media. I really enjoy doing what I do. So I started welding just before I was 22, so about 5 years ago now. And I was the first female that my local college had trained as a welding apprentice, being a female. And that really highlighted to me that a lot more work needs to be done vocally for getting more younger people interested into the STEM industries, especially welding. I'll always big up welding, and apprenticeships too. A lot of people seem to believe that you have to go to uni to be successful in life, which is 50-50 split, I'd say, but I went down the apprenticeship route and I'd never looked back. So
Do I love that. You made a good point. It's a trade, and it's something that you've developed, and we do need your skill set in the environment. Not everyone has to be degree, to have a degree or make go to university, become a BN or a master's or whatever it is they want to do. But we do still need required trades, and you talked about welding as well. And there are women in that do welding, but we don't know much about them. And I think it's so wonderful what you're doing as well, because what you do is you raise the profile of what welders do. And can you just explain more in detail, what does welding entail? Because again, we want our audience to understand that, please.
So basically, welding is the joining of metals together, either using filler rod, welding wire, or just pure from the electrode, the power that comes out to melt it together. I didn't know what it was before I stepped foot into the factory that I was supposed to be doing temporary cover for. So sometimes you find that kind of random mistakes maybe will lead you somewhere that you never thought that you could be. But yeah, welding, it's just anything that you can think of, like your furniture at home will have some welding in there somewhere potentially. Garden furniture, trains, aeroplanes, any kind of constructive work. It is manual labour that got it there. So it's everywhere that you see, but until until you're in that environment or situation, you wouldn't have a clue. But yeah, I mean, anything that you can think of I could make. So I just love that. I've got a fruit bowl in front of me that I could literally replicate, but anything that you can think of at all. And that's the beauty with it, really. It's not all heavy and dirty and dangerous. It can be quite dainty and nice. That's like where TIG welding comes into it. So there's many different processes of welding.
So what's
all
TIG?
got
And then what's TIG weld? Because I think people
so
need to. Okay.
TIG welding is tungsten inert gas. So basically that means that you have one torch and you have your tungsten, which is your electrode, and that is what I'll say the power comes out of. So we're understanding. I'm not patronising anyone by going into all sciencey details. But yeah, and then MIG welding, your gas and your wire comes out of that. So it's like that's a bit like painting to me. It's anybody can MIG weld. TIG weld is more of the skill side of it because your body affects everything. So if you breathe or anything like that and you slightly move, you'll change the profile of your weld. But yeah, your timing, absolutely everything comes into it. and you can get some really, really beautiful welds from TIGging. You can with MIG as well, but I prefer TIGging. So,
hey, we all have preferences, don't we? So thank you so much for explaining that, because I think it's so important, because sometimes we as engineers, or people in the STEM world, we don't always we use acronyms a lot, and sometimes we throw people off because what does that mean? What does that mean? So thank you very much for explaining that. Can I just go back slightly to the beginning, because I know you had a range of jobs before you started become a welder, and it's by chance as well. Can you just explain that? Because I think sometimes we feel we need to know what we want to do, but that's not always true, is it?
no, I think I wanted to be everything other than a welder when I was growing up. So I'm a trained hairdresser. I've got quite a few qualifications within the health sector. So I was a carer for about 2 years, and that was just before I started welding. Something happened in my life that made me really think about what I needed to do. And I wanted to go back into education. So I made the choice of going just applying for loads of different jobs whilst I was still thinking about what to do. And they were short for welders, and I literally just asked to have a go. I was working in the warehouse picking and packing, and I overheard they were short. So I was quite good at it when I had a go, but I had no clue what I was doing. And I don't really like doing that. I can't talk about something if I don't understand it. So I was going to put myself on an evening course, just a basic level 2, so I could get the gist of what was going on. And my boss said that he would put me on an apprenticeship. And there I was, like I say, the first female that had trained as a welding apprentice, and I won STEM Apprentice of the Year. I was questioning myself quite a lot whilst I was on the course, thinking, is this right for me? What am I even doing? It was just something that was a bit exciting that I saw. But as the months went by, I realised that this is my job for life now. I'll always be a welder, regardless whether I go down different routes to create or design things. I still want to weld. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you find yourself at crossroads and you have to make a choice. I've never really made good choices in my past, so I made a really good choice here. So it's proper chuffed.
Do you know, I'm seriously so impressed with you. You're what I call a driver. And sometimes, and I also like your journey, because you don't always have to know what you want to do. And sometimes I knew we as young people, sometimes you go through your school days and you come up maybe with nothing or with something, but then you get, but what next? What next? And you tried a lot of things. And I know your mom was a carer, or she still is a carer, and she works in that industry. Is that correct?
No, my mum works in the food and beverage industry.
Oh, she's moved. Okay, because I saw some article, which maybe that was okay. That's fine. Okay, that's cool. And so again, you try different things, and I think finding something that you enjoy and that you're good at makes a huge difference, because then you develop that passion. And you also made mention about that when you started I do applaud your company. Is it? Are you still with Alpha Manufacturing? Is that who you're with?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
good. That got that right. Okay, and I do like the fact that they took you through the process and they introduced you to apprenticeship, and it was for 2 years, wasn't it?
Well, this is the funny thing. So
Oh, okay.
where I am now,
Uh-huh.
isn't where I started my apprenticeship.
Ah.
Basically, I'd started at this previous company. I was about a year and a half into my apprenticeship, and I'd gone on holiday. I came back, and the boss had left to go somewhere else, and he was the only person that could really help me like through the apprenticeship. So I had to make another massive choice. Do I stay here and not really do very well, like potentially it'd be all it's quite hard because I got no experience in it before, so I did need like a bit of a mentor kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
So I rang up Alpha Manufacturing and I just explained I was halfway through an apprenticeship. I might need a bit of help with it, certain lessons and whatnot with it, so I can understand. And they offered me a job after I did a little weld test, and I finished off the apprenticeship there, whilst they also put me on a 12-month aluminium course. I finished that in 5 months. I wanted to get it done.
Wow.
But that's the determination. Like I'd gone somewhere new.
Yeah,
I wanted to prove myself.
yeah,
And like that's the thing about I'm meant to be here. Like I've had comments
yeah.
before, like, oh, why are you doing that job? You'd be better off doing something else. And that's coming from someone who doesn't know me. Like their opinions on you, don't let them like in. Everyone's got
Yeah,
opinions about what you're doing.
of course.
Um, sometimes it comes from like a place of care, like if it's your parents or your family or friends. And then you get
Mm,
outsiders as well that'll just say
mm,
little things that might niggle at you, but it's your
yeah,
life. If you're
yeah.
happy and you're
Mm.
doing okay, just listen to your own voice in your head. So
100%. You know, you made a good point because I think sometimes we get caught up with what everybody else is saying rather than what's in your heart, what you truly believe is right for you. And sometimes you get distracted because you get distracted by what they're saying. You end up not following the route that really will make you happy. But you
yeah.
know, I I do love I see I'm celebrating you. I'm celebrating what you've achieved. I'm celebrating you as being who you are because you had to find a place of where you are happy, a happy place, if that makes sense. And your passion came through and you realize, hold on, I'm actually really good at this. And I enjoy what I do as well. I'm not saying you weren't good at the other jobs, but this one you found that you enjoyed it more. And I think in a way, you stood out in the crowd in many ways because I assume you were the only female welder. And you know, in a way, you had to keep proving yourself, or you felt you had to prove yourself. Maybe you did not, but in your heart of heart, you think, well, I better show that I can do it. So you said you finished the aluminum course in 5 months instead of doing the full stint. That's because you want to show that I can do it and I'm good at what I do. And I think that's okay because we're all different. And that's why we want our industry to be diverse, inclusive, and accessible. Because if we're not diverse, then we miss out on so many nuggets like yourself. If you were not given an opportunity, and initially you want to have known how it's going to pan out for you. But look at you today, 5 years later, and you're promoting the industry itself. You know, I know you've been on quite a few articles, and also you're on BBC Bite Size. You help with the tour, you go around, and it's your second year doing that as well.
Yeah, my most favorite thing that I've ever done was in the summer. So I filmed for a TV series, and I can finally say it because it's on TV now.
Yeah.
So I got asked if I'd like to be part of the second series of the Woodland Workshop, and it's on Quest every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. And there's a couple of things that I build. It's not my episode yet, so in a couple of weeks it will be. Um,
Also,
I can't really say what I made, but it's obviously metal and it's quite they're
yeah,
both quite big things.
yeah,
But just things like that, like if I hadn't have done what made me happy, that made
yeah.
and made everybody else happy, I wouldn't be where I am now. And putting yourself out there, like taking a risk. Um, I didn't really have a role model within engineering when I was
Mm,
growing up, so I didn't really have anyone to turn to or anything. And if I can be that person for a younger female or a younger
mm.
guy, like doing whatever they love, like I'll get messages now on social media, and it really makes me happy. They'll follow up and say, "Oh, I've started doing this now," and I'm like, "Yes, like good for you." Um,
Yeah,
so it just makes me happy, like networking as well. That's really important. And
100.
sharing your
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
Um, if you don't say it, nobody knows, and then
that's true.
how will they get through it? Like so.
And did you know something? You made a good point. You know, even though you didn't have a role model, I think you yourself you're very self-driven. And I think because you found your passion or that happy place, it made such a huge difference. And the fact that you want to give back and that you want to be that role model that people aspire to be like, at least give them that opening to say, hey, if Chloe can do it, I can do it too. And I think that's so important because that's why we celebrate. I celebrate you, and I've shown so many people celebrate you because you are an inspiration and you're doing a job that we don't see many females in, or it's not that diverse because it's quite hot, it's sticky, and sometimes it can be very dirty, but that's the nature of the job as well. It doesn't matter what type of job you do. Even as a doctor, you have your office side, and then there's where you go into the operating room, and it's dirty. There's things you've got to do. So what's different you being an engineer or being a doctor? A medicine doctor, And so again, sometimes we get caught up in what we think is this type of person, but really you demonstrate that, hold on a minute, there's the fun part and there's also the hard work. Of course it's welding, it's hot, it's heat. You're dealing with heat all the time. And but you're saying, hey, it's still fun, and you're demonstrating that. And that's why you're being recognized as a role model as well by the places you've been invited to. If we just like take back, because I think anyone can see that you're a role model, and there's been lots of talks about you being an inspiration, and I just said
It's
I
really
met.
scary. Like, it's really scary hearing that. Obviously, in the past 5 years, I feel like that's when my kind of career, my life kind of started. Before, I was a mouthy teenager, making the wrong choices, doing
Yeah,
silly things. And I feel like if I hadn't like done that, I wouldn't be where I am now. Like, I can look back and think, oh wow, like I've wasted so much time,
yeah,
but I wouldn't know what I know now. Like, I wouldn't try so hard. But
exactly.
yeah, it's quite scary being called a role model. But if I can help somebody, then that's all it's about.
But
So
but that's the whole thing. You see, the thing is, you started off not knowing where you wanted to go. You made some decisions. Look, everyone has made decisions or choices that haven't been good. But the thing is, you turned your life around. And there are lots of people saying, but hold on a minute, I'm stuck. What do I do next? But Chloe said, hold on a minute, I actually made some bad choices in my early days. But look, I've turned my life around. So if I can do it, you can do it too. And so you are an inspiration, and we celebrate you. I celebrate you. And I know many people are celebrating you. You look, you're going to be on BBC, or you are on BBC, and your show is coming up, or your part of the segment is coming up soon. So what does that tell you? Of course, you're a role model. So please don't undermine what you have achieved, because it's big, it's important, and it shows the young people coming up it's possible. I want you to remember that. That's why you do what you do.
oh, thank you so much.
But it's true. This is what you do. So if we look in the bigger scheme of things, because you've been around in that industry for about 5 years, plus or minus, okay, what are the things that you see that could still be better?
Um, just the numbers, like there's 51% of the population that's female, so what it should be split between all industries. Like, we need 51%. Well, I'll be nice and say 50-50. If CEOs, directors, managers, people in construction, any walks of life, it should be equal, and we should all be given the same opportunities. But you're not going to get them if you don't go asking for them. Nothing will come to you. You've got to step out your comfort zone and make a choice. You either
Mhm,
fail and learn something, or you
mhm.
succeed. So either way, it's going to benefit you. It just depends how you see things.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people give up when they don't do very well or they fail. But I always say, I'm sure you fell off your bike the first time
Mhm.
you got on that. You
Of
keep going
course.
back on it. You just keep
Exactly.
trying.
Exactly. But you got a good point about making it a fair playing field for both females and males. But not many females want to be a welder though. So how do we enthuse women to consider that? Because I think it's not so much that now that we're now becoming, there are more women in the industry, and there are more people, more men who are understanding, hold a minute, we don't, women are not that fragile. After all, they can do the job. You're a prime example of that. So how do we then bring it to the attention of females that this is an opportunity, this is something that you can do, because it's not just about, because what you're doing within your environment, it may be totally different from somebody else, because you also got to merchandise as well. I mean, you do stickers and things like that, so you're creative stuff. You can use welding to do that. You can start a business, isn't it? And then you do have a business on the side. So there are lots of things to do. So how do we raise the profile of the nature of work you do, or just in general?
Just speak about it. Like I say, I didn't really know anyone who did what I did. And if
Mhm.
there's been plenty, like so many others before me, but if you don't speak about it, the next don't know about it. It's not shouting about yourself, it's just shouting
Mhm.
about the industry and how
Of
there's
course.
so much space for other
Mhm.
women.
Mhm.
And I know that I'm only 27, but like, women have been oppressed for years, even though in the war, when all the men had to go off, the women were put welding. And then
Yeah.
when the war had finished, they didn't want to send the women back because they were really good. But
Mhm.
had they not been given that chance, they would never have done it. Um,
Exactly.
it literally is about personality as well. Not everyone wants to be a welder. Not everyone wants to be a hairdresser. It just depends on you. But if don't knock it till you've tried it, like you
Indeed.
might really enjoy it.
Indeed. But do you think maybe we should introduce it into our school system? Because again, it's about tasters. You talk about BBC Bite Size, that's about tasters. So do you think we need to introduce some form of trade or ability to do welding in schools where you have a taste of different things? So it gives you it gives you choices of what's available, and then you identify whether or not you're passionate or something you want to do. Because like, unless you
Definitely.
are introduced into something at an early age, it never comes across your mind that it's something you want to do anyway. So what do you think? Do you think that'd be a good idea? And how do you propose that should be done?
I really do. However, I know that health and safety is at the peak of its game, so I don't think that that would be acceptable in most schools. I think there'd be too many regulations and things, but I would absolutely love to get me welder on the back of a truck and go in and do a little demonstration for them, get them to make certain things. I think work experience would be like the only time that children would be able to come into the industry and try something. But it's quite ridiculous, really, the school systems, because they're not setting you up for your life. You can write a sentence with a full stop, and you can do algebra and things like that, but that's not real life. Like, you're going to be in a job for like 50 plus years, so you need to
Yeah.
know what you're going into. You need to enjoy it. But again, until people speak about it and or they're showing you like what can be done, how you can
Mm,
do it, all the
mm,
routes into it, like there's so much help out there.
yeah.
But you don't know, you're not going to do it. So
Yeah, that's so true. But I'm going to go back to the education system. I know the health and safety is a big thing, but we seem to lose our young people at a very young age because they leave school maybe with a very minimum number of qualification, or GCSEs or whatever it is now, or they don't really know where they're going. They don't know what they really want to do, so they end up being in that place of limbo of not knowing where to come. So I think there must be a way around it, because when I was at school, we did design and technology, and I think we did a bit of welding as well, because we used to do like all these design things, and then you had to weld all these pieces together. I remember doing this flower thing, and welder was involved, and but it had in a controlled environment. So what's so different? I'm not sure if the school system is different now to when I was at school.
I
Oh, that's
think it
many
might
years
have been
ago.
soldering. Yeah, I think it would have been soldering what you were doing at school, because we did
Yeah.
that in our school as well. It's
Mm.
similar, but it's not welding. It's still joining metal together, but
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a load of risks with it. You've got sparks from MIG welding.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that could happen. But with the correct training, you'll be fine. But I just want to touch on what more can be done. I think it's about where you're from, the area that you're at, the opportunities available for you. That
Yeah.
has a massive, massive influence on people's lives. And it's not
Mm.
because they choose it. Like, if you're born into like a poorer society, or places with not many opportunities, really expensive areas, like even out in rural places, what chance have you got unless you go and move? That's added money. If you don't, it's really hard to when you are your backup, like if you're starting from scratch and everything, and that can really hinder people to not make choices. It's going to cost them a lot of money, like even driving, it could like stop them doing that for a long time. And like a lot of people don't realize how lucky they are just because of the certain opportunities they have from a young
Mm.
age,
Mm.
like how they're brought up and certain things like
Yeah.
that. So
So
it's
true.
yeah, it's a mixture of different things. I think like someone can be really determined to do something, but they just haven't got the resources. So what do they do?
True. So,
Like,
but the opportunities are there, and the government is said. So, do you think the government has to introduce? Because if there are areas where they're missing out on opportunity, which you're right, 100% correct, because you're in certain urban areas or certain remote areas, that is a big problem. And unless you know who's who or where to get the information, you miss out completely. So, do you think? Because the reason why we want to bring solutions, we want to bring practical solutions. We know there are issues, but how do we then address those issues and bring solutions that will make the difference within this area? So, do you think the government has a role to play? And what do you think the government should do? If
the
you could
government are
live?
the ones they're the ones that kind of tell us that we have to stay at school until we're 18, and they're the
Yeah.
ones that also decide on the lessons and things like that we learn.
Okay.
So I think it'd be a lot more beneficial if there was more inclusion within the trades, like electricians, plumbers, welding, the things that keep the country moving.
Yeah.
Like, they really need to be shouted out. And I know that we need accountants, and teachers and things like that, obviously. But we need a lot more doing within the trades. Like, we keep the country going. So
So within the school itself, so the government has to maybe put a policy together or something to get the education systems to look at merging both the traditional way of studying as well as the trade school, because we have to, you're 100% correct. We need to find a way to marry or merge those two sides, because of course you need people who are consultants or people who do, on a high level, but also need trades skill sets, those skills that need to put all those things, your ideas together to bring it to life in many ways, because you can have all the ideas, but if you can't put it together, it's just ideas really. And you need people who have those skill sets. Not everybody wants to study, not everybody wants to know the theory. Everyone's different in their learning styles, and we need to appreciate that and recognize that and see how can we then support them so that when they leave school, they have some form of, or at least they have that ability to go into the industry and be something and make a difference in their industry itself, isn't it?
yeah.
So yeah, so I do agree. So we do need it. So based on what you're saying, I do agree with you, and I think we need to get the government, even though you have to stay in school till 18. And I know that this current government is saying about talking about maths, teaching maths to age of 8. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, because again, it's a skill of teaching maths itself. But I think where apprenticeships concerned is so important. I think if we can introduce that at an early stage, it will make a huge difference. Maybe it would have made a huge difference with you as well. You starting earlier rather than leaving it to last minute. But it doesn't matter, because you found who you are, you found your passion, and this is who you are. And now we're celebrating you, and you're now trying to bring the other ones coming behind you to see the benefits of what you know as well. So I am just so grateful. I'm so appreciative of what you have achieved. I'm celebrating every day, and you are an inspiration, and you are a role model. And anyone who sees you will know that it's possible, especially the type of work you're doing right now. It is possible, and it's not. And you talked about the two different styles of that they said that the TIG as well as the other one, that different ways of using welding. They were the more dangerous one and the other side. But it's again, knowledge is power, isn't it? That makes such a huge difference. And I think when you know something, and this is why the education system has to be better than what it is right now, because we're losing our young people too early into a place where they don't feel they can come back from, but they can if they're able. But they have to be really driven to want to do that itself.
Yeah, I find a lot of people just leave school to get a job because they didn't enjoy school. There's
Yeah,
not that interested them, and they just want money. But then they
yeah,
realize I'm just in a job because I can do it. I don't know much. Like,
yeah.
I haven't got a trade for life. I haven't got many skills.
Mm,
And it's really sad considering that they've got a lot of potential that could have been used in
yeah.
different ways.
Mm,
But then again, it's a lot of things come into it. It's a mixture of opportunities, where you are in the world, what gender you are comes into it. There's loads of stuff. Like,
mm.
it's a it's a tricky one.
Okay, we know, but we're getting there, because if you can do it, Chloe, anyone can do
Anyone
it.
can. That's
Right,
it.
well, that's it. Because you said I am meant to be here, so we need to remember that anyone who, whatever they find as their passion, they're meant to be there because that's their passion. So
Yeah.
as we come to a close, because I'm really enjoying, seriously, I am celebrating you. I'm really impressed with what you've achieved in such a short period of time as well. And I know you're going to be in great heights as well. So what would you be your final say to maybe young people, but also to the industry, the government, about the things you would like to see that maybe if you had it then, it would have made a difference? We know about the constraints, but we don't want the constraints to be a hindrance. So just very briefly, what would you leave as a
I really,
takeaway?
I really believe that more trades need to be highlighted within schools from a young age. I know there's a few books that have been written by some amazing people about STEM and getting into the industry and what you can do, all the different routes that can take you down. Just awareness and like you say, knowledge is power. If you don't know, you're not going to do. Like you might follow the crowd and do what your friends are doing and things like that, and then a couple of years have gone by and you really hate your job and you don't like what you're doing, and then you've got to start again. So if these little things are implemented at young ages when you're still a teenager, that might get your brain ticking to think that this is my life, I'm going to do something with it. And I know that like even college isn't for everyone, but you need some kind of education. You need to learn what you're doing, and a lot of the stuff you learn on the job as well. So if you've got no experience like I didn't, don't worry, apply for it, and you might be surprised. But yeah, just be yourself. Like don't follow everybody else. If you want to be an astronaut, you go and be an astronaut. Like even
So
if you think
true.
it's a bit out of your reach, just do it. You never know.
Indeed. Do you know, amazing word of knowledge, a word of wisdom, sorry. But it's knowledge, but it's also wisdom as well, because again, it's be whatever you want to be, but also about the need for our education system to combine not just the tradition, but the trade into the learning path for young people. So like at least if they have a taste, because not, as you say, not everyone has the opportunity that maybe if you live in a certain area or you have the right people around you, the support network to tell you, oh, do this, do that. But you're saying that like if the education system enables the trades side of things, trade schools come into play, then will make a difference. Because apprenticeship also, there's so many ways to learn, and we all learn differently as well. And I think we need to understand that. So, Chloe, I can talk with you all day, but I can't because you've got a lot of things. I know you woke up quite early and you finish early, so you need to go to bed. I don't know what time you go to bed, but hey, I
I'm
know
gonna have
you.
my tea first. Yeah.
Yes, don't forget that. That's important. But thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation we've had. And this will make such a huge difference because again, one of the things we want to do is showcase the different diverse roles within our industry. And trade is important, as important as those with the ideas, those with the innovation. Even with trade, you have innovation and with ideas as well on how to make different things. Even you're a good prime example of that with your own merchandise that's out there that's being sold. Again, there are lots of things that can be done. We want to introduce, we want to celebrate, we want to raise the awareness of that as well. So again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on board.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, really, really love chatting about anything like this. So anytime.
Do you know something? You are an inspiration. I love what you do. And I'm impressed with you. So thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is again Margaret Ajibode, the STEM Positive Disruptor, with my special guest, Chloe Sells. An amazing woman, amazing person. And you know what she said? I am meant to be here. Yes, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you want to do, always remember when you find your passion, you're meant to be where you are. So go for it. Do not be afraid. You may make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. You learn from your mistakes, get up and keep going. So thank you very much. Thank you.